Sex Education is a funny show that touches on very intimate topics, no pun intended. Dr. Jean Milburn is a sex and relationship therapist, so her son Otis has accumulated a lot of textbook-type knowledge over the years. After inadvertently helping out Adam with a hard situation, Maeve told Otis that they should start a business, the clinic. Otis would provide therapy, and Maeve would run the business. Otis encouraged people to look inside themselves so as to figure out what it was that they really wanted or what they were afraid of. And Otis also encouraged people to be open with their partners because communication is key. And over the course of the season, Otis slowly began to take his own advice. So let's start by looking at Otis. Otis was 16 years old, a student at Moordale Secondary. So like most children his age, Otis was confused. Otis developed feelings for his friend, Maeve, but since Maeve was dating Jackson, Otis tried to sleep with Lily. But that didn't go very well. Lily and Otis didn't have feelings for one another. They both just wanted to do it with someone, to do it with anyone. So for better and worse, Otis panicked when she touched him, and nothing happened. Otis then started to hang out with Ola. But at the dance, Otis introduced Ola to Maeve as his friend, because part of Otis still longed for Maeve. Ola got jealous and left, but then Otis went to her store to apologize. They walked home together, and they kissed. Pretty cute. Maeve also had quite the journey in Season 1. Maeve's mother is a drug addict, and her brother and father had both run off, so Maeve had attachment issues. Maeve tried to keep Jackson at a distance, but the dude was persistent. Jackson paid Otis for advice, and in an attempt to sabotage Jackson, Otis told him to do something big. Something that you'd see in a rom-com, and he did just so. He sang to her in the cafeteria, and to Otis's dismay, Maeve liked it. So Jackson and Maeve became an official thing. Maeve even invited him over and told him about her parental issues, and Jackson opened up to Maeve as well, telling her about his anxiety issues and how his mothers fight all the time, that he is the glue holding their family together. So, in short, Maeve and Jackson's bond strengthened through communication. But after she found out that he had paid for Otis's advice, Maeve told Jackson that she did not love him, and he walked away. Little does she know, he still loves her, which is why he told Mr. Groff that he would only swim at the county championships if Mr. Groff got off Maeve's back. Jackson swam and he won, but Mr. Groff had his cake and he ate it too. He did not take Maeve's expulsion off the table. Nonetheless, Maeve put up a solid defense at her tribunal. Maeve's teacher and her brother Sean had both told her how smart she was, and Maeve began to believe in herself. So at the tribunal, she stuck up for herself, saying that she was really smart, that she knew she could do better, and if she was given a second chance, she would not waste it. So for the time being, she was barred from campus until they make a final decision on her expulsion. Back at home, Maeve found out that her brother had left. But she also found a trophy and a letter from Otis telling her how he was sorry and how she was the smartest person he knew. So Maeve walked all the way to Otis's, only to find him kissing Ola. She went home feeling truly alone. No boyfriend, no brother, no Otis. But thankfully, Amy had dumped her mean friends and stopped by to hang out. Now let's quickly recap the other characters. Eric was left out of the clinic equation, so he had to carve out his own path. Eric joined the swing band and became a dog walker. But most importantly, Eric began to live how he wanted to live. He got beat up for that, but it didn't stop him. His father was worried when Eric chose to go to the dance all glammed out, but he was also proud that his son was brave. But some parents were not as accepting as Eric's father. Take for instance, Jackson. Jackson's mother put a lot of pressure on him to focus on his swimming. She tried to distance Jackson from Maeve, but Jackson stuck to his guns. He stayed by Maeve's side, and even after she told him that she didn't love him, he came to her defense with that aforementioned threat not to compete at counties if Mr. Groff expelled Maeve. And speaking of expulsions, Adam went from fighting Eric to hooking up with him. Then they got all cutesy in class, but unfortunately, the good times would not last, because over the course of the season, Adam did a number of bad things, and it eventually caught up to him. Adam's father sent him off to Mountain View Military. And last but not least, let's discuss Dr. Jean F. Milburn, Otis's hot mother. Otis's father, Remy, left Jean, So she had attachment issues with men. And on top of that, she felt more and more lonely as Otis grew up and became more independent. So as a result, Jean intruded on Otis's personal life several times. And even worse, Jean began writing a book about Otis. But Otis found it and he called her out. So when her publisher called her and asked to see more, she did not send it. Sex Education Season 1 ended with Jean telling Otis that she was wrong, that Otis wasn't repressed or dysfunctional. But Otis countered that he was. Some of it was his dad's fault, some of it was his mom's fault, but mostly, that's just who he was. And he's right, because at the end of the day, Otis is just a teen, so it's normal. The main takeaway from Season 1 is that the children are going through a very confusing time period of their lives. And although it is beneficial for parents and mentors to provide advice and moral support, it is also necessary that they let their children go free, for everyone's path in life is different.